What if instead of having a controller with thumbsticks, we have a controller that has two touchscreens that are just flat? Almost, I guess, imagine the PlayStation touchpad, the PlayStation 4 little touchpad at the top of the controller, and it's just a touchpad. Like it's touchscreen. Just like a mobile device. Get rid of the weird wonky analog stick, and there's no dead zone. There's only inputs. Maybe we get rid of the thumbsticks, or maybe just even the right thumbstick. We can still play with the left one, because the dead zone in the left one might not, it doesn't really matter as much for aiming. Not as much. It matters, but not as much. Why is mobile aiming better than console aiming? And that's why, because it doesn't have dead zones. So what initially put this thought into my head was, I guess PUBG Mobile, right? I was playing it at work the other day and I was like, dude, aiming on PUBG Mobile actually isn't the worst thing ever. It's actually pretty decent. Considering, right? And then another thing triggered this thought of mine. A recent, or depending on when you're watching this, a somewhat recent Fortnite update included in the patch notes that they would reduce the size of the dead zone for controllers. It was something like that. And that's good news for console players because dead zones are a weird thing. So just quick explanation, if you guys don't already know what dead zones are, it's the zone, it's the circular zone in the entire thumbstick circular range. It's that center resting position that has no inputs, it's the resting position, you're not touching it, it's not going to do anything. The controller isn't going to look around or anything like that because that is the resting position. And what's weird about dead zones is leaving them. Like I said, I don't know how much thought you guys have put into this before, so let me explain a little bit more. When you're playing a game and you start slowly turning the thumbstick, or even abruptly turning the thumbstick, you're basically applying an input very, very slowly or gradually or whatever. And there's a moment in time, there's a moment where the controller may not recognize your inputs because you're still within that dead zone. So it's nice when a game has like a smaller dead zone. In fact, this is another reason why I really like the Elite controller, is because you can customize the Elite controller dead zones. I play on a very, very slightly tweaked version of the instant dead zone on my Elite controller. This kind of like minimizes the dead zone. It makes it so it's instant. There's no delay. And this applies to pretty much all games. Sometimes this can interfere with some games depending on what the actual in-game dead zone settings are. Those settings are not adjustable in most games. You don't really see them. PUBG on console is one game that I have seen. You have the ability to adjust the dead zone. And Overwatch kind of does indirectly. So actually when I play Overwatch, I don't use instant because Overwatch's dead zones are a little bit different than most other games, or at least my settings on Overwatch specifically. On my Elite controller, I have settings for my instant dead zone and another setting for just like Overwatch with the regular controller dead zone that most of you guys play with. And that's important because when you go left and right really quick or up and down really quick, you have to pass through the dead zone. That's what gives console the feeling that it has. That's why it's different from PC, primarily. Of course, there's a lot of reasons why it's different from PC, but that dead zone is something that PC doesn't have. When you look left and right on PC, and even mobile, there's no dead zone. It's an instant thing. You don't have to cross a dead zone when you look different directions quickly. And again, that's why console feels the way it does, primarily. There's many other reasons, but that's a big one. The dead zone. So I was sitting there at work playing PUBG Mobile, and it hit me like, this is like aiming with the mouse and keyboard because there's no dead zone. It's just quick left and right movements with my thumb. But it's like a controller at the same time because I'm using both of my thumbs. And then after that patch note from Fortnite, it hit me, man. What if we have some controller in the future? Like, this is weird, man. We're going out here, bro. We're going out on a limb here. What if instead of having a controller with thumbsticks, we have a controller that has two touchscreens that are just flat? Almost, I guess, imagine the PlayStation touchpad, the PlayStation 4 little touchpad at the top of the controller. Imagine it kind of like that, except it replaces your thumbsticks, and it's just a touchpad, like it's touchscreen, just like a mobile device. I mean, we're still gonna have the controller and the buttons and all that stuff, but if we get rid of the weird wonky analog stick, not saying I ever would want to, because I love console, I've always played console, they've always had dead zones, but what if like someday or someone decides to make a controller that doesn't have thumbsticks and instead just has two little flat, you know, flush with the controller surface, like touchpads that recognizes your thumbs, and there's no dead zone. There's only inputs. Maybe we get rid of the thumbsticks, or maybe just even the right thumbstick. We can still play with the left one, because the dead zone in the left one might not, you know, it doesn't really matter as much for aiming. Not as much. It matters, but not as much. I haven't thought this idea much, you know, I haven't thought this through too much to see if it really makes sense to you guys, but it was something that I considered, and I was like, dude, why don't we have that? Why is that not a thing? Why is mobile aiming better than console aiming? Like, come on, bro. And that's why. Because it doesn't have dead zones. We still have dead zones. And we're not mobile, man. Console has dead zones, and we're not mobile, man. And I mean, it's just a weird idea. And maybe I should make my own. But like, imagine how different console would be if we had controllers like that. That would like put us on par with PC. Don't come at me, you PC Master Races. I play PC too, I love them both. So don't you even step in that direction. And no, okay, I take that back. It wouldn't put us on the level of PC, but dude, like, aiming would be so much easier to control. It would be only inputs. There'd be no dead zone. It'd be looking left and right without crossing a space of no inputs. Be crossing a space with no dead zone. It'd be like having the control of mobile aiming in a much better and comfortable thing, because it's going to be in a controller, and that's something we're used to. We're used to holding a controller. Mobile has, you know, maybe good aiming and all that. From what I'm saying here, we don't have the buttons that a controller does on mobile and stuff like that, so of course we're still going to want a controller, but maybe, dude, having one touchscreen, dude, something to think about.